Duncan to speak.
Hey, Duncan! Duncan!
Thank you. I want to ask you a question, and raise your hands. How many of you have asked your phone to navigate for you in the last week?
Yes!
All right, hold that thought. We are all advocates. Some of us advocate for ourselves, and some of you are angels that advocate for us. I know about the people at Family Connections and Able, South Carolina. And I know all the great people at Abundant Life and the Therapy Place. There are churches and civic groups that make helping us their mission. There are the caregivers, like the ones who used to bring my friends out to play baseball. And my family. They taught me by example how to be an advocate. Trust me, you did not want to be on the wrong side of my mom. So why then do we have to devote so much time and attention to advocacy? Let me tell you what happened when I went to look at colleges. Okay, my grades meant that I could go just about anywhere, but when I looked to see if they were a good fit for me, and I went to their special needs departments, it was like I was a problem that needed solving. They wanted to see my IEP, my 504. Every question they had was, well, we'll need to check. And that was if they could squeeze us in to meet with us at all. I was so discouraged. But then I visited Furman University. They just smiled and said, sure, we got you covered. And you know what? They do. Not because I'm so special, but because they believe that every student has value, that every student can contribute if given the opportunity. It's a completely different attitude. In fact, they go out of their way to make everything as accessible as possible for everyone. Furman just doesn't overthink it. Think of all the time and money we waste arguing about IEPs and 504s and diagnoses. Time is money, and the resources we spend arguing about what some call problems could have had the problem solved already. To change that, we have to stop seeing ourselves as problems. We're people. And there are many innovations that could not have been accomplished without us. Not everyone can tie shoelaces, but not everyone wants to tie shoelaces. Because what gets tied becomes untied. So when Nike decided to invest in a shoe without strings, yes, they did get inspired by another young man with cerebral palsy. But they realized that by making an accessible shoe, they had an opportunity to grow. Today, the LeBron Soldier is a huge seller, and from that line, many other lines, using zippers, bungees, and straps, have grown to appeal to many people. Some disabled, but most not. We take ramps and elevators for granted today, but before the disabled began pushing for them, many able-bodied people were struggling to get things upstairs and getting hurt in the process. And if you're a parent pushing a stroller, I'm sure you can appreciate that someone in a wheelchair insisted on the sidewalk having cutouts. Like eating at your favorite sports bar, you can eat you can watch a TV that you can't hear because of closed captioning. Foreign film, don't need to speak the language, closed captioning. According to Emily EU with Disability Science Review, several surveys were conducted to see what kinds of technology college students use to help them study. Most of these technologies ended up being what some would consider accessibility technology, but only 14% of participating students were actually registered with their disabilities offices as having a disability. I remember my parents fighting to get me a laptop in elementary school. By the time I got to high school, all students had them. Designing and creating for people with challenges interacting with the normal world forces us as a society to think beyond the status quo, to push us to a whole nother level of innovation, to create something beautiful that will benefit all of us. As advocates, you are critical to setting this example. We need laws that don't get so convoluted that no one benefits. We need to challenge the perception that funding our needs is like sending money into a black hole and nothing of value comes out of it. Because we solve problems. We don't cause them. Back to how your phone got you here. Accessibility is for everyone, not just the disabled. And there are millions of entrepreneurs, innovators, and businesses who understand our value to all of society. And there are many industries, jobs, and prosperous people out there strictly because of the investment they and our lawmakers make in us. And it isn't a far stretch to see how enabling someone like me to type with my voice instead of my hands can lead to someone asking their phone to take them to McDonald's. So one more time, people, inclusion does not create problems. Inclusion solves them. Thank you.